Just something I observed here in the last minute. This alfalfa is starting to flower, but that means we got to cut this hay pretty soon. Typically you like to cut alfalfa just as it's starting to flower. However, we've got storms tomorrow and then a week of unsettled weather ahead of us. So I'm not exactly sure when we'll squeeze that in. It may have to wait a week until we can get a little bit drier forecast, and then we'll get to test out those crimping rollers on the New Holland Haybine, see if they were worth the money. This is going to be our first installment. There she goes. Be our first installment on the review of these new B&D Crusher rollers. Stop the camera, I'm going to check these stems a little bit. Alright, so I checked a couple of the stems here. The guys at the roller company said these things should hang almost like a wet noodle. And I can see it's crimping it periodically, but I think we may need to tighten things down a little bit more. That one, actually, the one I just picked up now, is pretty good, but like this one here, that's not crimped at all. So I know we've got them set a little light here just because we wanted to make sure we weren't putting too much pressure on them at first. You know, the more you crank them down, the harder it is on the drivetrain. So I think we'll crank them a little tighter and check it out that way. The timing on all this is a little weird. We had an opportunity maybe last week where we could have cut this hay. You can see it's in full flower, which is not necessarily ideal for alfalfa. You want to cut it when it's just starting to flower, when the first flower buds are coming out or about to. Apologies, the deer flies are really bad today out here. So I'm getting kind of mercilessly attacked, and they're landing on my hand, which is holding the phone / camera. So we had to wait. We would have had 5 drying days, but the weather forecast didn't seem like we were going to have enough drying days. So we waited, and now we're stuck in a position where we're cutting this right after it rained this morning, and we may get 3 good drying days or 4. In all honesty, there's a pretty serious chance it's going to get rained on while it's down, but you can't let it keep going. Alfalfa, when it's flowering like this, the next step is that it'll go to seed and then the leaves will fall off, according to Dad anyway. I've never actually seen that happen myself. We've always managed to get it cut in time. So we went from a spring where we weren't getting enough rain in a timely way to now a summer when we should be baling hay and we're getting rain a little bit too frequently. So, well, like I said, we missed an opportunity. We had 5 good drying days. We baled a little bit of grass hay. It was basically like yard hay that we cut down. And we should have dropped this alfalfa field then, and we didn't. So, I don't know. It's a lesson in how tough it is sometimes to make a call on when to do a specific job at a specific time. Anyway, Dad's coming around here, so I'm going to stop him, and we'll tighten those rollers up a little more and reassess. Hey everyone, so I had a little break there in my filming. That was on Thursday that we were cutting this hay down, the last segment that you saw. The weather was kind of iffy. Dad and I were just trying to get the rollers set, and the hay was really wet. The standing hay was wet because it had rained overnight. So in the end, when I filmed those first segments of us cutting the hay, we got the roller crimpers set where we wanted to at the right tension, so it was crushing the hay stems where we wanted to. And then Dad actually just shut the tractor down, and we decided to wait until later to cut because the hay was standing with so much dew on it and so much rain droplet water on it yet. So he came out in the evening then on Thursday and he cut and had a little mechanical issue, and as often happens in farming, he had a little bit of a wreck where he had a loose sickle section, so he folded up the haybine, went to turn around and go back to the yard and turned too sharp and broke the 3-point hitch on the tractor against the side of the haybine drawbar and broke part of the jack on the haybine and was pretty upset with himself. So then on Friday morning, he got that all fixed and straightened out. None of it was too serious, and he got back out here Friday morning and finished cutting. Friday was a perfect drying day. Things looked really good. Probably hay got 50% dry. Saturday, we were really hoping, there was some rain in the forecast. We were really hoping it would miss us, and the morning started out great, but then it ended up pouring rain at about 11 in the morning, We got a quick rain squall. Thought, okay, maybe that wasn't much. Maybe it'll kind of come back from it. Sun came out for a while. And then all of a sudden at like 6 p.m. we got another quick rain squall. So Saturday was a mess. And I thought for sure we were never going to get this hay baled in a decent amount of time. But now it's Sunday today, and it's been perfect all day long. So I was out here earlier this morning doing some work in the garden and harvesting some vegetables. And we kind of checked the hay, and it was nice and dry on top. And I talked to Dad and said, you know, if you rake this maybe, right after lunch, it's probably going to be ready to go by Monday. So now we are in the time crunch here where he got it raked over. You can see it's been flipped, and it looks good. I'm out here. I brought the windrow moisture tester out, so I'm going to check it and see where it's at here. And but I'm pretty sure that if we can get out here tomorrow, maybe right after noon, right after the dew gets off the hay and we start baling, that we can make 4 or 5 good loads of really nice hay here. Then we got to get it all unloaded, because tomorrow being Monday evening, there's a really like a 90% chance of rain again. So that's going to be our crunch time goal, is to get out here tomorrow, get this baled up, and get it on the wagons. It's just going to have to be me and Dad, because it's Monday, so everybody's working. But then Monday evening, my sister and my brother-in-law and my wife Dana and anyone else we can pull in can come and help us unload and get it in the barn. So tomorrow's going to be a big day, but I'm going to show you how this windrow moisture tester works, at least for us, and we're going to see what this is at, because if it's close to 18%, then we know that it's got a really good chance. Even if it's 20, if it's a little over 18%, then we'll know that we've got a good chance that tomorrow morning it'll finish drying down and we can make really good hay. So right off the bat, I can tell you, those crusher rollers they really crushed the hay down. I'm just kind of checking it here, and even with the rain on it, it still managed to dry out the core of these alfalfa stems. So I'm impressed. I would like to see what they could do if we would have had a string of like 3 really good drying days. But I suspect that if we cut on, if we cut on a Thursday, if we'd have had really good drying, we could have been baling today on a Sunday if there wouldn't have been that rain event in there. So anyway, let's check the moisture, and hopefully we're in a good position and we can be baling tomorrow. So this is a pretty interesting device. I tried it on some grass hay, and I really liked having it. It gives us some kind of a numerical, scientific way to check this stuff. But that's the moisture tester. It looks like some kind of a phaser out of Star Trek, the original series Star Trek, by the way. And anyway, you take some hay from the windrow and you stuff it in a bucket, and then you cram that tester in there with the satellite dish part pointing down, and you hit the button and it gives you a moisture reading. So as I said, we're looking for 18% to make good small square bale alfalfa hay, and let's see where we're at. Okay, so I got some in the bucket here. This is a little bit heavier windrow, so I want to pick some heavy spots because that's going to give me the highest moisture readings. And you just stick the probe down in there, compress it, and then hit the power button, and it's reading 20.4. So we're pretty close. I'm going to check a couple other spots and kind of get an average. So I just went and checked a few spots in the field here. Moisture percentages are kind of all over. There's some spots in some heavy windrows where I got a 20% and a 24%. Clearly some areas where the hay had been laying flat down and was heavy. But most of it is at somewhere between 14 and 16%. So, I mean, even if we baled this right now, if we got out the baler and baled, most of the bales would be fine. We'd maybe get a couple of heavy bales that might spoil. But when you're looking at it as a, it's a go time kind of thing and we just have to get it done. Luckily, we don't have to start right now tonight. We can start tomorrow after lunch and have the day to do it. So by then, I'm thinking all of this is going to be really nice and dry, because we are in what you could consider a pretty safe zone for baling right now. So I can tell you right now that my review of those crusher rollers for this crop right now, this minute, is that was an excellent purchase. It was a big expense and a lot of work to put that into the Haybine. But this hay dried down in 3 days with a rain on it one day. So it only had part of Thursday, Friday, and today is Sunday. Those 3 days were pretty good. So 2.5 days of drying time. You almost can't count Saturday because it got rained on twice that day. And it looks pretty good yet. There's some bleaching in the hay, but it's going to have a nice green color to it when we get it in the bales. So should still be good, high quality hay. Doesn't smell bad, doesn't look bad. So I think right now, as I stand here in the field, that was a worthwhile investment, because that's pretty incredible to get that good at drying, at least compared to what we were working with the stock rollers on that Haybine and with the rubber coming off of them. Very impressed, very impressed. I'm really looking forward to see what they can do when we have a string of days where it's nice and dry. Maybe on third cutting in August, you know, we can get some pretty dry days in August here in Minnesota, or when we cut the teff grass even. Of course, that's not comparing apples to apples because it's not alfalfa, but I would buy those rollers again. I'm going to say it right now. I would buy those again. I'm very impressed so far. We'll see what happens when we bale it up tomorrow, but I don't know how it could go sideways as long as we don't get a rain shower tonight. Dad did stack the deck for us a little bit. So that 489 New Holland Haybine is a 9-foot cut, and you can kind of see here that these windrows are closer together than that. He put the folding drawbar hitch in the closest position, so he wasn't taking a full cut. And in doing that, he kept the windrows a little lighter, so it'll be more passes around the field when we bale. But it was probably worth it to keep the windrows from laying too heavy, especially since that hay had been allowed to grow longer than we would have liked while we were waiting for this ideal drying window of time that never really came. So these windrows still look pretty heavy for the fact that they're not the full 9-foot cut on the Haybine. So that stacked the deck a little bit in our advantage in trying to get it dried quicker as well. So we're getting ready to bale hay today, and in a real interesting twist, one of our wagons just pretty much fell apart. Now, I'm no expert on wagons, but I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be some front wheels on that. We're not really sure what happened there. Apparently the pin fell out of the reach, which is the long pipe that connects the front wheels to the back wheels of the wagon. And the reach is called that because it can be extended to make it longer for some things like hay racks and forage boxes, or shorter for things like gravity boxes, which aren't as long front to back and don't need such a long wheelbase. So the wagon reach usually has some kind of a pin in it that allows it to be adjusted and also to pivot a little bit to, adapt to different ground conditions. And we parked these wagons out here, and then we came out later and found this one had rolled down the hill without its front wheels. So all we can figure is that the pin came out of the reach probably while there was a load of hay on the wagon, and then it was just friction fit in there and somehow hung together. Now, the nightmare scenario would have been that it would have come apart going down the road or something, which luckily for us it didn't. So anyway, the nice thing is it fell apart in the pasture where it couldn't hurt anyone and couldn't do any damage. But now we've got a hay rack without any front wheels. So Dad's gonna pull around. The actual pipe that makes up the reach and the front wheels are up in front of me here. And we're gonna collect that and get it back to the rest of the wagon and try to get it put back together again. See what I mean? Weird, right? Really weird. All right, we got her put back together here. There's the new bolt back in the back. I don't know what happened to the bolt that was in there. It just got itself vibrated loose after a while and fell out, so it's nowhere to be found. But I did notice there's an identical one right there on the front, and that has got kind of a loose nut on it. So I tried to tighten that up, but it's extremely rusty, so I think it'll be fine for today because the odds of it vibrating loose are pretty slim, but we should probably replace that too. Just to reiterate, probably the biggest takeaway from that is, good thing that didn't happen going down the road. Having a wagon split in half with a full load of hay on it, would be inconvenient at best and really harmful to other motorists at worst. So nobody likes restacking hay alongside the road, and nobody likes injuring innocent bystanders. So good thing we got it fixed. Whew. Well, it's significantly later in the day, and I am significantly more tired because we've got 4 loads of hay baled. There's 2 there's the other two. So it's really tough for me to film while we're baling hay because the bales come off the baler so quick and I'm stacking them. And it's just, unless I get someone else to run the camera at some point, it's just a hard process to capture on film. So that is, let's see, 480 bales, right about there. Maybe a little less than that, 470 maybe. So not a bad day's work, and it really is nice hay. The bales are nice and tight and dry. And yeah, I mean, just to reiterate my review of those B&D crusher rollers, my initial review, having used those and baled this hay in less than ideal conditions with it getting rained on once, it's still really high quality hay, and we're going to be able to market this just fine. So we are going to set up the elevator at the barn where we store it and get ready for unloading, because at midnight tonight a storm's supposed to roll in and we will be getting between 1 and 2 inches of rain is what they're predicting. So getting this stuff put up in the barn today is our mission, and it's a critical one. Well, that's it for now, folks. Once we got over to the neighbor's barn and got everything set up and everybody showed up, we were fighting the end of the day and lack of daylight, and it was all hands on deck. So monkeying around with the camera was not part of the game plan at that point anymore. And anyway, that's the end of my initial review on the B&D rollers. So until next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.